BT's Body and Balance is sponsored by Canada Diagnostic Centres, offering MRI, X-ray, and ultrasound services in Calgary and Okotoks.
Been a lot of talk lately about early onset Alzheimer's. Spirit of the West frontman John Mann announcing his diagnosis just last week. Also, the upcoming Julianne Moore film Still Alice that screened at TIFF recently. Health specialist Leah Sert's joining us now about just how common early onset Alzheimer's is and what can be done about it.
Yes, and how devastating, of course, it can be to families. So first of all, World Alzheimer Day is Sunday. This is why we like to talk about these things as well. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia in Canada. Early onset Alzheimer's, what we're talking about today, is quite rare, but it's not uncommon. So let's put this in context. 1 in 20 people with Alzheimer's will have early onset Alzheimer's.
5%.
So, that's right,
Yeah.
1 in 20. So there you go. And this is defined as being diagnosed before the age of 65.
Okay.
So that's what we have to keep in mind. So this is Heather and her son, Matthew Perot. Heather was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's when she was just 53. She's 61 now. That's her son, Matthew there. He is her primary caregiver, and he's just 29. So he's been looking after his mother full-time since he was in his mid-20s, if you can imagine. Heather, of course, has a big sweet tooth. There she is, enjoying her cookies. And you know, this is really the situation with early onset Alzheimer's. I spoke with Dr. David Hogan, a specialist in the area, about this, and he says Alzheimer's at any age, of course, is a tragedy, but with early onset, patients are usually still working. They might be putting away for retirement. That's taken away from them. They often have either children at home or young adults like Matthew, so it's particularly challenging for this group of patients.
Okay, so what are the symptoms of early onset Alzheimer's? It's not like me losing my car keys, is it?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. We want to be very clear about
Yeah.
this. So it's not a question of losing your car keys, not a question of, oh, I forgot to pick up the milk today.
Sure.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about when this forgetfulness or memory loss becomes a pattern of behavior. So a pattern of behavior that is negatively impacting your life.
It would be forgetting things like, for example, not the specific date, but if you forget the month, if you forget the year, that would be of more concern. If you lose the skill to do certain things that you were quite adept at in the past, that would be of concern. If you show examples of exercising poor judgment, and that you never showed before, that would be of concern.
But Dr. Hogan says if you have any concerns about yourself or even one of your loved ones, Dr. Hogan says it's really reasonable to bring these up with your healthcare provider. Matthew actually says, looking back, he recognizes now symptoms in his mother that were occurring long before the diagnosis.
He saw kind of the signs.
He did,
right?
he did, but for now he says he's just going to take this one day at a time for sure.
You can't just mope around and you know, worry about what's it going to be like 5 years from now, because you have no idea. Like, I don't even know what it's going to be like next year, because as you say, it's degenerative, but it's also very unpredictable. She could largely stay the same for a few years, or she could be completely different next year. There's just no way to predict anything. So it really is a case of just realizing that Mom is a fun person to be around and to really enjoy the time that I have with her right now.
Doesn't he have an amazing
healthy
attitude?
outlook,
I know, he's incredible. So he's really encouraging people to not be in denial, to get tested sooner rather than later, when medications that they have for Alzheimer's may still actually help.
So what kind of medications are you talking about here?
So we actually have 4 medications in Canada for Alzheimer's, early onset or otherwise. But Dr. Hogan says, you know, they really only provide a modest benefit, and they're certainly not a cure. This is why we need to put money toward research. And it seems actually that we're headed in that direction. The federal government just announced $31.5 million in funding towards research in dementia. It's also an established priority for the G8 nations, because let's be clear, dementia is only a problem that's going to get worse as our population ages.
The boomers are going right through it right now.
Exactly, they sure are. And you know, in 20 years, that is expected it'll be over 1 million people in Canada with dementia. So this is a major issue that we need to tackle.
Okay, if anyone has wants to get more information, it's going to be on your blog,
It
right?
will be on my blog shortly, you bet.
breakfasttelevision.ca, that is where you find it.